Hey guys, it's Savannah, and today we'll be talking about the Functional Movement Screen, also known as the FMS. The FMS captures fundamental movements, motor control within movement patterns, and competence of basic movements uncomplicated by specific skills. It will determine the greatest areas of movement deficiency, demonstrate limitations or asymmetries, and eventually correlate these with an outcome. The FMS is comprised of 7 movement tests that require a balance of mobility and stability. The patterns used to provide observable performance of basic manipulative and stabilizing movements by placing clients in positions where weaknesses, imbalances, asymmetries, and limitations become noticeable by a trained health and fitness professional. The screening is purely an instrument for rating and ranking movements. The FMS exposes dysfunction or pain, or both, within basic movement patterns. Those who score poorly on the screens are using offsetting movement patterns during regular activities. If these compensations continue, suboptimal movement patterns are reinforced, leading to poor biomechanics and possibly contributing to a future injury. The 7 FMS tests include deep squat movement patterns, hurdle step movement patterns, incline lunge movement patterns, shoulder mobility movement patterns, active straight leg raise movement patterns, trunk stability push-up movement patterns, and rotary stability patterns. The deep squat pattern is part of many functional movements. It demonstrates fully coordinated extremity mobility and core stability, with the hips and the shoulders functioning in symmetrical positions. The hurdle step movement pattern is an integral part of locomotion and acceleration. Although we do not step to this level in most activities, the hurdle step will expose compensation or asymmetry in stepping functions. The incline lunge pattern is a component of deceleration movements and direction changes produced in exercise, activity, and sport. It provides a quick appraisal of left and right functions in the basic pattern and is intended to place the body in a position to function on the stresses and stimulations during rotation, deceleration, and lateral movements. The shoulder mobility reaching pattern demonstrates the natural complementary rhythm of the scapular, thoracic, spine, and rib cage during reciprocal upper extremity shoulder movements. The active straight leg raise not only identifies the active mobility of the flexed hip, but includes the initial and continuous core stability within the pattern, as well as the available hip extension of the alternate hip. This movement is often lost when flexibility of multi-articular muscles are compromised. The trunk stability push-up is used as a basic observation of reflex core stabilization and is not a test or measure of upper body strength. The rotary stability pattern observes multi-plane pelvis, core, and shoulder girdle stability during a combined upper and lower extremity movement. It demonstrates reflex stabilization and weight shifting in the transverse plane, and it represents the coordinated efforts of mobility and stability observed in fundamental climbing patterns. If the individual receives a score of a 0, there was pain associated with the movement. If the individual receives a score of 1, it is most likely related to stability or mobility imbalances. If the individual receives a score of a 2, it is related to inadequate mobility and/or stability. And finally, if the individual receives a score of a 3, the individual has adequate fundamental movement patterns. The goal of the functional movement screen, also known as the FMS, is to locate the body's weak link in movement patterns and improve it through therapeutic exercises. Thank you.